and another game that I guess came out this month that might be good, I don't know, is Uncharted 4.
Today.
It's out today.
Well,
you can buy it right now. Why are you watching this? Go download it. I pre-downloaded it last night.
Yeah.
It had that little ticker saying it'll be unlocked in 15 minutes. Then I had to go play tennis for an hour, which sucked because I wanted to play Uncharted. Mike Mahardy, you've played a lot of tennis.
Tennis is good. I have some complaints with it, but it's worth the experience.
Tennis is
worth
now just 2017, so let's talk about Uncharted, which is what I meant to say originally. You played a lot of Uncharted. You awarded it a 10 out of 10 on GameSpot. I've actually lost count of the amount of 10 out of 10s we've given. 12 now. There was a time where it was down to, it was only like 7 about a year ago, I feel like.
Yeah.
And then Metal Gear Solid, The Witcher 3, and Journey got them last year. Uncharted 4, the best Uncharted game?
Yeah,
really?
Definitely.
Really?
So it's not
Uncharted 2 was really good.
It's not as groundbreaking as Uncharted 2, but it is better.
Okay.
Because Uncharted 2 came along and blew all our faces off. We're like, what's happening? And
video
now,
games can do this, really?
Yeah, and now Uncharted 4 is saying, well, really, this is what we can do.
Okay.
It's just not as much of a surprise.
Right.
It's awesome. It's in so many different aspects. And it's not just the individual quality of it, like the combat, the storytelling, the writing, the animation, just how it looks. It's how they all kind of combine to form something that uses all of its aspects to tell a story that you couldn't really tell the same way in any other medium.
So explain, I guess, sort of the nuts and bolts of that. Like, what are the things in this game which feel, if not groundbreaking, then better than anyone else has done within this genre in Uncharted 4?
Sure. So you watch a cutscene and the animations, first off, the facial animations and animations in general are pretty much there. It's the way that it can express just distrust, something that you couldn't see on a video game character's face most of the time. The way they do that is pretty great, and how the writing flows into that. But also when you're just fighting, there'll be these incidental little things that they do. Like Uncharted has always done this, but there's points where certain relationships will start to change and the dynamics will change, and the way they address each other when you just walk by them when you're playing will actually kind of react to that. And at first I was like, I think I'm looking too much into this, but then they kind of addressed that later. I'm like, oh, they meant that. And there's so many ways that they use the world itself to tell a story. Like Rob pointed something out to me, and something happened on the time. I'm trying very hard not to spoil anything. If it sounds like I'm dumb, it's because I'm being general. So something happens with these characters, and then Rob noticed something in the world, the landscape itself, that looked differently, which was pretty crazy that they did that. But I don't know, Jake and I have both beaten it, and I know you're playing right now, and it flows so well. I love the intimate personal moments between characters just as much as the crazy action car chases through Madagascar. It's the way that they flow into one another and kind of maintain the momentum even when you're not fighting and you're just kind of driving through this countryside and hearing these two characters talk. It's such a great way to tell a story in so many different ways, and it's really, the momentum doesn't let up the whole time. I mean,
Naughty Dog are a long way from Crash Bandicoot, and this game, just when you think about it in a post Last of Us world, they really are just incredible at making stories. And I've only played the first 2 chapters, which I think were maybe an hour and a half, maybe long or something in total. And I put the controller down to hop on the bus to come to work, and was just like, God damn it, this is so brilliant. I'm just enjoying every minute of it. Jake, what's been your experience playing it? Where does this sit in terms of the rest of the Uncharted? Have you experienced all those other games as well, and does this feel special?
Yeah, so I've played all the Uncharted games, and this one's definitely my favorite. I pretty much agree with what Mike said. I think the way it tells the story has just been so fine-tuned. The way Naughty Dog does it, they've basically perfected at least the sort of storytelling they're trying to go for. How gameplay cutscene, but there are parts when you can't even tell, which is crazy. I remember when Uncharted 2 came out, Sony did that promotion, you can't tell if you're playing a game or watching a movie or whatever. And this actually feels like that. And the one scene in Madagascar that he kind of mentioned a second, we saw at E3, that's all gameplay.
Right, yeah.
And you see it at E3 and you're like, yeah, okay, let's see if it actually is going to look like that. And then you play through it and you're like, oh my God, I am actually controlling this, and it's breathtaking.
I was taken aback because in the past couple of months I've become a little bit of a PC snob again, because I've upgraded my rig and I'm really enjoying games, whereas all last year I basically just played games on Xbox One and PlayStation 4. And I gotta say, when I was about maybe 5 minutes into this game when my PlayStation 4 sounded like it was about to take off, which didn't matter because I had the volume up pretty high. But there are times I'm playing this game, I'm like, man, this is running on a goddamn PlayStation 4. There's something about Naughty Dog. They've always managed to crank the most out of the PlayStation. I don't know what it is. It looks incredible.
Yeah, it's weird.
It runs incredible.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Frame rate, animation, the vistas themselves. It's not like they're doing one of them really well, like so many other games does. Like across the board, it just looks tremendous.
Yeah, I mean, the 30 frames in campaign, the 60 in multiplayer, both like I don't think I saw a stutter the entire campaign of the bunch of hours I put into multiplayer. I didn't see any problems. The way that they actually. Like Rob Handler, well, a bunch of us have been using the photo mode in the game,
right? Yeah.
Which it's telling of how a game looks that you actually are encouraged to. You want to use that. Otherwise, what would be just like a bonus aspect?
Didn't they put that in Left Behind? Wasn't it in the
right?
Or
it was in
expansion?
Yeah,
or
when
was
it came to PS4, they brought it. It was on The Last of Us and Left Behind.
Right.
Yeah, and we've been taking photos, and there are a couple. There's one Rob got of this old hallway, and at the end there's this window open, and it's shining a light on these puddles, this dilapidated place, and it looks photorealistic. It's crazy, like how the lighting plays off of certain areas, and how like especially in the cutscenes, the characters' faces just it's the way like there's one scene Jake and I always talk about, and you can read it differently. That's like it's a very well written story, and you can kind of look at certain characters, what they say, and how they mean it. At one point, a character says like, "We've got a lot of ground to cover." And you're kind of thinking, oh, well, they just mean like the geographically.
Yeah.
But then you kind of start thinking about it. They're like, oh, or they could just like be sort of on the way to. It's like they're talking about their relationship, kind of like there's a bunch of different dynamics going on, and the way that the facial animations and how it looks during the cutscenes in and out, that they actually just kind of push that story without even using words. It's insane.
Yeah. I guess I have a very selfish question. How long is it? Because I've been only playing a couple of hours, but I already know that I don't want this to end. So what are we clocking in?
Took me, I think my total save time was like 13:45, about 14 hours or so. Yeah.
What about yourself, Jake?
Mine was probably about the same. I think maybe 12 hours. I did it in 2 sittings.
Whoa.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to, all that time playing The Witcher, you just got to cram it in there somewhere.
You have to
complete
find
The Witcher
time.
3 again. Yeah.
But yeah, I think mine was probably about 12, 13 maybe.
The first third of the game, so there are 22 chapters and then a fairly lengthy epilogue.
Right.
The first third of the game is kind of slow, and it's in a good slow in its pacing, but then that's when it feels like an Uncharted game. And then after that, and I see like Peter Brown sat down one sitting, got to chapter 11.
Right.
In chapters is halfway, but it starts to get a little longer because another thing that this game does differently is structurally, it opens up a lot of its level design. Well,
we saw the Jeep sort of stuff they showed off a couple of weeks ago.
I think there are about 3 areas where it's really open and you're driving through and exploring, and then there are these. It's almost like Metal Gear Solid 5, not as like directly focused on stealth and combat as Metal Gear Solid 5.
But base invasion-y.
Right, there are these outposts. You can sneak into tall grass, climb on ledges, mark people, and then you can even just go through. You can avoid them. You don't even have to engage in combat, and which feeds more into this story, because the story is very much of Drake kind of coming to grips with the fact that he's not a good person in the first 3 games.
Yeah.
And they address that.
Really?
That's my favorite. It's
okay, because that's been the elephant in the room forever with those games, because they crafted these incredibly believable characters, but still have them in a place where they're mowing down hundreds of people.
I mean, you're still fighting this game. You will kill people at certain points. It's a third-person shooter, but the gameplay itself, not only, that's what's crazy about it. Like Josh Scherer and Neil Druckmann, who wrote this, have somehow found a way to address the problems of the first 3 games with this writing, whether you think they're problems or not, which I always, when I returned to the collection last year, it felt weirder. Like they have such a sense of humor, and they kind of, after they killed a bunch of people, but now they actually kind of address Drake's psyche, and that this is how he uses his humor as a shield. This is how like he's grew up.
Oh, man.
He's been a loner most of his life, and that's why he doesn't open up well. And a lot of it hit home for me, and maybe for you. I know this is such a stretch, but I remember like when Roger Ebert was writing about Martin Scorsese, he would always say like his growing up Catholic plays a lot more into the work than it does, and you kind of see that here, and that hit home for me. I grew up Catholic, and you kind of see how that shaped him as a kid.
Oh,
and maybe
immediately the first couple of hours was very much like
and like he gets older and he stops like believing in like that kind of religion, but now he believes in this, like the El Dorado exists. So it's him replacing what he used to believe in with these new things, and they kind of addressed how his character has developed the entire series. And the big driving thing is never mind. I'm getting towards spoilers.
Let's
play the game, because I want to, and then we're doing it. We're recording
cast, right?
Yeah, we're recording a spoiler cast later, and I can't wait to get into, because this is the kind of game where you can, like, not to sound like a pompous jerk, but you can really analyze the stuff and look at it, like look deeper at it, but not just in its writing, in like its gameplay and how that factors into it, and how certain characters interact in the game, and how like certain visuals look, and how certain shots are framed. It's really, really good.
Awesome.
But at the same time, it's just the pacing is so great that the game is fun as hell. Like, in no way do I want to make it sound like it's just this like artistic kind of thing. It's Uncharted. You're gonna blow things up. You got a grappling hook this time around. It makes battles feel really fun. You can sneak past people without fighting if you want. It gives you more choices of how to play. You can explore this time around. It's Uncharted. You're gonna be like globe trotting in these really cool places. Yeah, play this game.
Exciting stuff. Play this game. You heard it here first. I'm very fascinated by that idea of like solving the Bioshock Infinite problem. Or like diving into like the sort of Spec Ops: The Line type of narrative storytelling as well. That's super fascinating. Thank you both for coming in and talking to us about Uncharted 4: A Thief's End, available now on your PlayStation 4. And that's it. Sorry, PC and Xbox One owners. Maybe this is worth picking up a PS4 though.
Yeah. If you don't have one yet, do it.